Welcome back, everyone, to AI Brief. It's episode 86, and today we're going to be taking a pretty deep dive into some of the biggest things happening in the AI world right now. Really fascinating stuff. We're going to be talking about AI capabilities, accelerating a big fight brewing in Hollywood over copyright, and some really interesting moves coming from Nvidia.
Yeah, so much going
I
on.
know.
So should we just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's just get right into it.
Right.
Why don't you start us off with this study that has everybody kind of buzzing right now? It's a new report from METR. It basically says that AI's ability to do tasks all on its own is doubling every 7 months.
Yeah. They're calling it like a Moore's law for AI.
What's interesting to me about this study, like in terms of, how AI is going to change our lives, is the way they actually went about measuring this. It's not just some benchmark scores. They actually tracked how their AI could complete 170 software tasks.
Yes. Some were short, like a couple of seconds. Some took like 8 hours. Yeah, and so what they found is that the top AI models right now can handle a task for about like an hour, 59 minutes, and be right about half the time.
50% reliability, yeah.
To put that in perspective, just a couple of years ago, even GPT-4, was only reliable for tasks for maybe like 8 to 15 minutes. And then you look back further, 2019, these systems could only handle stuff for seconds.
It is pretty crazy how quickly it's all developing.
I know. So if this pace keeps up, and that's a big if, but if it does, they're saying that by 2030, we could have AI systems that could do the work of a skilled human for a whole month and be pretty darn reliable about it.
If that happens, that's going to have a huge impact on so many industries. Like, we're talking about massive shifts in how businesses approach automation.
For sure, for sure. All right, well, let's move on to something a little bit different now. There's a pretty big debate happening right now in the entertainment industry, Hollywood specifically, over AI and copyright. More than 400 big-time Hollywood creatives have come out really strongly against some proposals from OpenAI and Google. What they want to do is make it easier for AI to train on copyrighted material.
Yeah, and these creatives are basically saying that this would basically allow their work to be taken and used without permission. Free exploitation of their work is how they're putting it.
And it makes sense if you think about it. If you're a musician or filmmaker and someone is just taking your stuff to train their AI, it does kind of feel unfair.
Right. Yeah, it's a big question of how these new technologies fit into existing copyright laws.
So OpenAI and Google, obviously, they're arguing that this is all covered under fair use. In fact, OpenAI is even framing this as a matter of national security. They're saying, hey, we need to be able to do this for, national security reasons.
Which is an interesting angle. And Google's argument is basically that the current system already lets them innovate with AI.
But on the other side, you've got some really big names. I mean, we're talking Ben Stiller, Mark Ruffalo, Kate Blanchett, Paul McCartney, to name a few. They're all saying that AI companies should have to negotiate and pay for licenses, just like anyone else.
Right, just like you'd get permission to use a song in a movie.
Exactly. And to me, this is really a clash between how fast technology moves and the way things work in more traditional industries like Hollywood.
Yeah, and you've also got to think about the global implications. AI systems are training on data from all over the world. So even if this particular fight plays out in the US, it's a much bigger issue.
All right, well, let's turn our attention back to tech for a minute. Nvidia just made a pretty big announcement. They've got this new family of open source reasoning models called Llama Nemotron. They're basically designed for businesses that want to use what they're calling agentic AI.
So these are AI systems that can kind of figure out how to get stuff done on their own without a human having to tell them every step.
Exactly. Think of it like a super smart digital assistant that can really tackle some complex problems.
They've released these models in 3 different sizes: nano, super, and ultra. Each one is built for a different kind of use.
Yeah, and the early results are really impressive. They're saying the super version is actually beating out Llama 3.3 and DeepSeek V1, like in areas like STEM and even in using tools.
It's really interesting. They've also added this feature where you can switch between like a deep thinking mode and just getting quick answers. So it's kind of versatile depending on what you need.
And they've put a lot of work into making sure these models are accurate. After more training, they're seeing a 20% jump in accuracy compared to the original Llama models.
5 times faster than some of the other open source reasoning models out there.
Now, NVIDIA isn't stopping there. They're also going to release what they're calling an AIQ blueprint in April. It's basically a framework that makes it easier for businesses to connect these AI agents with their own systems and data.
So this is NVIDIA really going all in on AI. They want to be more than just a hardware company. They want to be the go-to for these advanced reasoning capabilities.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of going all in, Nvidia is also joining up with xAI, along with Microsoft, BlackRock, and MGX. They're part of this huge initiative to invest up to $100 billion in new AI infrastructure projects here in the US.
This is potentially a big rival to OpenAI's Project Stargate.
And it gets even more interesting. Microsoft is also rumored to be working on their own AI model called MAI-1, which this new infrastructure could support. That would add another layer of complexity to their relationship with OpenAI. All right, let's shift gears again and talk about something a little different, but still really cool. Microsoft is also partnering with this Swiss startup called Innate. Their goal is pretty wild. They want to create a simulation of the mammalian brain, like a full-on brain sim. They're using 18 million lines of code for this.
And they're calling it true cognition for large language models. The idea is to let AI learn not just from data, but from actually experiencing things in a simulated world.
Which could lead to some pretty big breakthroughs in how AI can reason and solve problems. We're talking about things like finance and robotics.
Yeah, areas where you need to be able to think through complex situations.
Okay, moving on. There's this new open source voice model out there that's making some waves. It's called Orpheus, and it comes from a startup in San Francisco called Canopy Labs.
And they're claiming that it's just as good as the models from OpenAI and 11 Labs. But it's open source.
Yeah, so anyone can use it. They've released it in 4 different sizes, and it's supposed to sound really natural, like it can even do things like sighs and laughs.
That's pretty impressive for an open source model.
Absolutely. Okay, so apart from these big stories, there's a lot of other cool stuff going on. Google AI and UC Berkeley are working on something called inference time search, which is basically a way to make AI more efficient by generating and choosing the best answer from multiple possibilities all at the same time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
LG has also released a new model called ExaWin Deep, which is a 32 billion parameter model that's doing really well in math, science, and coding.
Then you've got Muse, the company that makes those brain-sensing headbands. They've just launched a new one called Muse S Athena. It's basically like a fitness tracker for your brain. It uses AI to help you improve your cognitive abilities.
You can train your brain like you train your body.
Exactly. And remember that Swiss startup Innate that's working with Microsoft on the brain sim? Well, they've got another partnership going with Microsoft, focusing on different aspects of brain-inspired AI.
Really interesting stuff. What else?
Oh, OpenAI has a new model out called O1 Pro. It's a more expensive one for developers, but they're saying it gives better results across the board.
And xAI has added image generation to its API, so you can create images now too.
Notebook LM has this new thing called interactive mind maps that helps you visualize and organize your ideas.
Cool.
And get this, an Italian newspaper actually published an entire issue that was generated by AI. The whole thing.
Wow.
On the funding front, Datamentor, which does AI-powered risk and threat detection, just got $85 million in funding. And Present, a company that uses AI to create presentations, just raised $20 million.
Lots of money flowing into AI.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, so let's wrap up by talking about some of the trending AI tools that are getting a lot of attention right now. Diamond from Graphite is an AI tool for code review.
Really useful for developers.
Yeah. Then you've got Canvas, which is Gemini's new collaborative workspace.
And Stable Virtual Camera, that can turn a still image into a 3D video.
And Hunyuan 3D 2.0 MV, an open source model for creating 3D shapes. Video AI makes high-quality videos from text and images.
Max AI, which can chat with web pages and summarize, explain, analyze, and even write.
There's Mermaid, which makes collaborative diagrams.
Yep.
And Miro, which is this awesome AI-powered workspace for teams.
So many cool tools out there.
Yeah, there really are.
It's hard to keep up with everything that's happening.
I know. But hey, that's what we're here for, to help everyone stay on top of the biggest AI trends and developments.
Absolutely.
So that wraps up our deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you learned something new today. And if you did, do us a favor and share AI Brief with your friends and colleagues. We'll be back next time with more insights and analysis on the most exciting developments in artificial intelligence.